Jiang approached him, and with a sinister look asked him to speak. Seeing his expression, Jiang couldn't help but feel afraid and began to tremble. With a trembling voice, he tried to explain to him what had happened. Seeing that Jiang was very scared, Jiang calmed down and started to smile. He approached him, and while he had one hand on his hip, he placed the other on his shoulder, closed his eyes, and began laughing out loud. Upon seeing that, he also became nervous. He didn't know where his courage had gone when he had killed the monsters in the secret realm. Jiang started sweating like crazy. He began to look at Jiang, and it didn't take long for him to realize that he was pulling his leg. He sat on the sofa, and while he had one arm resting on it, he extended the other hand towards the ceiling, and with a calm look explained that he wasn't pulling his leg. It was just that if he didn't want to talk now, then he also didn't want to keep pressuring him. The more cards up his sleeve Jiang had, the happier Jiang would be. In the future, Night Watch would count on him to achieve new successes. Jiang finally calmed down a bit, put his hand on his chest, and with a sincere smile asked him not to worry. He decided not to reveal anything for now, but in return he was going to get him epic level equipment. Uncle Jiang closed his eyes and couldn't help but start laughing. He appreciated Jiang's intention, but an epic level piece of equipment wasn't easy to obtain. In response, Jiang explained that he was serious. Jiang decided that it was time to get serious. He reached out towards the ceiling, causing a magic circle to start appearing. With a serious look, he thought it was good that Jiang had an ace up his sleeve, but there were some things he needed to clarify. From within the magic circle emerged 3 bandaged corpses, and they fell to the ground in front of Jiang. Seeing this, he couldn't help but feel somewhat confused. He asked Uncle Jiang what this was and where these corpses had come from. Jiang started to stare at Jiang and revealed to him that these guys were at least 3rd grade masters of level 60 or higher. There were even 2 4th grade grand masters with a level above 90. They were not people to be taken lightly, since any one of them was someone whom even Jiang could not handle. He was just a corpse collector. Jiang became somewhat nervous, and as a drop of sweat was falling from his cheek, he began to look at the corpses and with a terrified look asked Jiang if all these guys wanted to kill him. With a calm look, Jiang asked him to stop talking nonsense, as these guys had gone to kill Mu Hankyu, but they had all been secretly eliminated by her protectors. Jiang turned towards him and with a confused look asked why these guys wanted to murder Mu Hankyu. In response, he took out a scroll, and while holding it in his hand, asked him to read the content. Jiang took the scroll with both hands, opened it and began to read. This scroll was a great summer hunting classification. The first on the list was someone of level 46 named Jiang, an invincible descendant, who was in the war zone of the capital. Killing him would grant 3 celestial rewards. The second on the list was someone of level 46 named Jiang Xuanyu, an invincible descendant, who was in the Madu war zone called Shanghai. Killing him would grant 3 celestial rewards. The third on the list was someone of level 45 named Jiang Wushuang, an invincible descendant. He was in the war zone south of the Yangtze River called Jiangnan. Killing him would grant 3 celestial rewards. The 12th on the list was someone of level 41 named Xiao Beihan, a national defender descendant. He was in the war zone south of the Yangtze River called Jiangnan. Killing him would grant 2 celestial rewards. Jiang did not know what this great summer hunting list was. All were names he had not heard before. Looking a little more closely, he noticed the name Xiao Beihan. With a surprised look, he asked Jiang if this was not a member of the Xiao family that protected the country. He began to look at Jiang with a serious expression and responded that yes, all of them were the most outstanding geniuses of his generation's camp, and Xiao Beihan was one of them. He was also going to participate in the Tanjiao camp of the 8 war zones, and Xiao Beihan was going to be with Jiang in the Yangtze River Southern War Zone. With a serious look, Jiang explained to him that if one was in the 7th transformation, they were considered as king protector. If one was in the 8th transformation, they were considered as country protector, and if one was in the 9th transformation, they were considered invincible. The top 100 prodigies of Great Xia were at least descendants of sealed kings. Mu Hankyu, being one of the 12 descendants of sealed kings in Jiangnan, had only been able to occupy position 77. On the scroll, there was also information about her. She was ranked number 77, a descendant of the sealed king, and she was in the Jiangnan war zone. Killing her would grant a celestial level reward. Jiang began to look at Jiang and explained that if the descendants were powerful, then much more so would be the Xiao family that ruled the country. Several minutes later, Jiang finished reading the entire scroll, approached Jiang and returned it to him. With a serious look, he asked if he had shown this to him so that he wouldn't be too unprepared in the Tanjiao camp. He took the scroll with his hand and replied yes. The greater the power he displayed, the more dangers he would expose himself to. He asked Jiang not to expose himself recklessly unless absolutely necessary. He clenched his fist tightly, started looking at the ground with a lost gaze, and explained that the other geniuses had the backing of great powers, but his uncle, Jiang, although he had a good master, had not learned the arts well and so far was only a third-level master. He feared he might not be able to protect Jiang adequately. He began to walk and told Jiang that he would take this into account and would try not to reveal his power to anyone in the Tanjiao camp. He started looking at the ground again and thought that Uncle Jiang not only did not blame him for hiding his power, but was also making great efforts to protect him. He put his hand under his chin, and with a smile, he remembered that they said Jiang's performance in the secret realm had been better than the others. If this got out, then he would definitely be above Mu Hankyu in the rankings. But there was something strange. She hadn't said a single word to anyone since she returned and was keeping his secret. He stood up, and while keeping his hand under his chin, approached Jiang. He started looking into his eyes with an insinuating look, and with a smile asked him to be honest. He asked what he had done to Mu Hankyu. He recalled that in the secret realm there were only necromancers. He thought Jiang's tastes were really strange. Upon hearing this, Jiang began to look at Jiang with a confused expression and couldn't help but start sweating. To stop talking about the subject, he quickly turned his back on him, and as he was walking away, he started waving goodbye with his hand and explained that he was going to take a shower and then sleep because he wanted to rest a bit. With a confused look, Jiang told him that he had not said this was a bad thing. Several hours later, it began to get dark, and Jiang returned to his apartment. In front of him was a table with a bunch of jars. He placed both hands on the table and with a joyful look started to gaze at the jars. He had bought 33 units of 3rd level blood and 14 units of 4th level blood. He had sold most of the equipment to get this. This should be enough for the insects to reproduce in the 2nd generation. He took a jar, removed the lid, began to pour the purple blood on his arm, and with a smile asked the little insects to come out as it was time to eat. He decided to start first with the refined 3rd level blood. This was equivalent to devouring a master of 3 human transformations with a level above 60. To extract just one jar required hundreds of ferocious beasts. He told the insects that their father had made a great effort for this. Little Nine didn't take long to smell the scent of blood. She manifested herself, climbed onto Jiang's head, started looking at his arm with a hungry gaze and explained to him that she also wanted to eat. While the blood was floating around his arm, he began to look at Little Nine with a cheerful look and asked her not to eat now, as it was still a long way before she could reproduce. Upon hearing this, she became sad, grabbed Jiang's hair with both hands, closed her eyes and started crying like a little girl. Seeing this, he couldn't help but feel somewhat confused. He grabbed her with his hand, lowered her from his head and threw her on the table on top of a jar. He closed his eyes, and although at first he didn't want to, in the end he also let her eat. She grabbed the lid off the jar and with a hungry look, thanked him saying that he was the best. She removed the lid from the jar, put a straw inside it, and started drinking. She was level 18 and was in the process of leveling up to 19. While she was drinking, Jiang grabbed another jar of blood, removed the cap, and began pouring the blood into his arm again. This was level 4 blood, equivalent to a great human master of level 90 or higher. Upon smelling the blood, the insects emerged from his body and began to drink the blood. A system window appeared and informed him that the reproduction process of 9 miasma wings insect larvae had begun. Each insect could reproduce a total of between 40 and 60 larvae. The divine evolutionary acceleration was in progress. More insects came out of his body and started to drink the blood. And several minutes later another system window appeared to inform him that the insect reproduction process had been completed. Now there was a total of 100,000 offspring. At that moment, Jiang's hand began to release Little Nine's poisonous mist, which was made of insects. He started looking at his hand, and upon seeing this, he couldn't help but feel somewhat confused. With a surprised look, he went on alert and began to wonder what was happening. Several seconds later, the insect larvae began to emerge through his hand. He grabbed his hand to prevent the insects from coming out, but it was in vain. The 100,000 insect larvae emerged and started flying around his apartment, devouring everything in their path. Jiang began to look at the ceiling, and upon seeing this, he couldn't help but panic and thought that the insects were rebelling. He clenched his fist tightly, extended it towards the ceiling, gritted his teeth forcefully and gave the order to all the insects to return to the insect nest and stay still, as he had not asked them to come out. The insects began entering his arm and started returning to the insect nest. When looking to one side, he saw that the insects had begun devouring everything. They had devoured the painting and part of the table. He did not take long to realize that the insects were terrifying and it was dangerous to let them out while at home since they were capable of destroying it. On the table lay little Nine. She was licking a jar of blood and enjoying every drop. With an angry look, Jiang scolded her for thinking only about eating instead of taking care of her mischievous offspring. He turned his head to the side and his statistics window appeared. Currently, he was level 26, had the identity of Sovereign of Insects, had the profession of Divine Rank Creation, and his talents were Growth of All Things level 1, Divine Evolution level 1, and Ancestral Tree. Little Nine's statistics window also appeared. She was a level 21 insect mother, or also known as 9 Wings of Miasma. She was disaster level. She had an offspring count of 100,000 units and her combat power evaluation was 197 stars. Upon seeing that she had a combat power of 197 stars, Jiang couldn't help but feel joyful and start to smile. This had improved too quickly. She was almost at the level of a 3rd level master. While his body was surrounded by powerful energy, he clenched his fist tightly and thought that everything was ready. Now it only remained to wait and go to the Tanjiao camp tomorrow, reach level 30 all at once, and complete Little Nine's second reproduction. Jiang started to imagine the sexy Little Nine, and with a joyful look he thought that at that moment, he was going to be able to obtain a new mother insect. At the same time, Jane Tang returned to the headquarters of the Night's Watch. With a surprised look, she asked Jiang if he wanted her to seek out Tiandao Wang for him to intervene. She didn't know if it was necessary to make such a fuss over Jiang Chen's matter. Jiang was sitting in front of her on the sofa. While he had one hand resting on the arm of the sofa, he put the other under his chin and explained to her that he was doing this just in case. He knew that in the war zone south of the river, Jiang would meet with the prodigy of the Xiao family, Xiao Beihan. The most dangerous thing was that there were no secrets that could be hidden in Tanjiao camp. He started looking at the floor and with a sincere look explained to her that there was something in Jiang that terrified him. He was worried about Jiang's poison. He knew he was hiding many secrets from them. With a serious look, she began to stare at Jiang. She couldn't believe that this was possible and also asked him not to scare her. She began to remember what had happened a long time ago. 600 years ago, the Devourer caused disturbances and Great Zia created the Forbidden Professions. Once discovered, users of Forbidden Professions were eliminated directly. She stood up, and with a look full of terror, she explained to him that if Jiang Chen really had a forbidden profession, then it would be revealed at the moment of awakening. She believed that Jiang was just being paranoid. Jiang clasped his hand with the other hand, started looking at the ground with a look full of terror, and thought that he hoped it was as she was saying, that only he was being paranoid. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.